This podcast is brought to you in part by Jfq Lending. With interest rates below 3%, there has never been a better time to lock in a low, fixed interest rate on your mortgage. You'll never need to think about refinancing again. Set it and forget it. And with Jfq Lending, you are guaranteed to get the highest level of customer service. They have an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and over 3,000 five-star reviews. Give Jared Ritter a call today at 480-637-7979 or email Jared directly at jritter@jfqlending.com. JFQ Lending, Inc., Equal Access Lender, licensed in over 40 states, www.jfqlending.com. Welcome to Pod Like a Champion, the blueandgold.com recruiting podcast. I'm Patrick Engel, joined by our recruiting insider, Mike Singer. Mike, you've been traveling everywhere. We just got news earlier this evening. It's Wednesday, September 16th, as we're recording, that the NCAA extended the dead period through the end of 2020. Not exactly a surprise, but note for you, travels are as busy as any. So tell us about where you've been.
Yeah, so days are just jumping up. You said it was the 16th as we're recording this, posting this on Thursday, 17th. Okay, so then last Friday was the 11th. I was down in Florida, so I have family. All of my family and my in-laws live down in Central Florida, so made the trip down there, stayed with my in-laws, and went out to see Philip Riley, cornerback, 4-star, Rivals 250, recently added into the Rivals 250 national rankings. So I went and saw Riley play. There was a really ugly football game in that Bloomingdale. Riley's team won 15-14, scored 0 offensive touchdowns. They picked up a botched quarterback snap on defense and scored that way. And then Philip Riley had the go-ahead 53-yard touchdown on the kickoff return. Kind of just a squib kick that went to him and just kind of set up perfectly for him to take that to the house. And then this was just an ambitious trip for me, Patrick. Tuesday, I went up to New Jersey. Tuesday morning, that afternoon, saw Steven Angeli, class of 2022 quarterback that Notre Dame's offered. And there's also defensive back Jaden Gould, a 4-star player as well, that Notre Dame is after. But really, it was to see Steve. So a little context of why I flew up there just for a high school football practice. Like, I flew from Atlanta to New Jersey.
This is real commitment.
Practice.
Yes, a practice.
A practice, right?
We talk about practice, man. Not a game. We talk about practice. Okay, I'm not going to say it 23 and a half times like Allen Iverson did, but anyway, as you were. Sorry.
I'm glad we're just slightly old enough to know that, right? We were kids when that happened.
Oh, yes.
In 2001 or something.
The generation, the current NBA generation,
knows
NBA
nothing.
Twitter generation will not
Right.
understand.
They just know the GIF. That's all they, right. Okay, so when I took this job in May of 2019, Notre Dame already had Drew Pine committed at quarterback in 2020 and Tyler Buckner committed in 2021. So I've been on this job for a year and a half or something, and I haven't been able to cover a quarterback recruitment. It's driving me crazy. So August 17th, it's just one of those dates you just can't forget. The night that Notre Dame finally offered a quarterback while I was on the job. So they offered Steven Angeli and Gavin Wimsatt. So I was like, I want to see these kids right away. So went ahead and booked the trip to see Angeli, partly because I felt between these two, who would commit sooner? Like, if Notre Dame's going to land one of those two, and I was like, Angeli, the kid who has family loves Notre Dame, Quentin Nelson and Wimbush are close with their brothers. Like, they're like, he refers to Quentin Nelson as Mr. Nelson. Like, they talk a good bit and all that stuff Steve does with Big Q. So I figured that's the kid I should go see first. So went up to see him practice, and the kid was impressive. Steve was, I joked with Vito Campanelli, the head coach at Bergen. I was like, hey, I'm going to turn you in to the state of New Jersey High School Athletic Association, whatever. And he was kind of like, what are you talking about? I was like, you can't have a 25-year-old quarterback. He started joking. Steve Angeli's got a baby face, but, he's got a great build. I mean, his legs are hairier than mine. Here I am, 27-year-old grown man, and Angeli's just being able to drive or something like that. So he looked the part 100%. I asked Vito, is that what he looked like as a sophomore? He said, oh, no, he's put on like 20 pounds during the whole quarantine ordeal. So put on really good weight, quick release, accurate, strong arm, moves well. An article I wrote on Wednesday morning on blueandgold.com, I wrote he's like just a modern-day quarterback, Patrick. Like, you want a quarterback who's not going to be a statue in the pocket. Right? You want a guy who can move around. But you also don't want just a running back at quarterback. You want a quarterback who can obviously throw the football. And he throws the ball with the best of them. I was at the Elite 11 over the summer. There were some really good quarterbacks there. And the way he slung the ball around in that practice, and I don't want to put a ton of stock into one practice, just like if he went out there and stunk it up, I would have defended him, been like, look, it was one practice. So he lit it up, so I have to kind of caution myself from like just saying that he's the best quarterback to ever pick up a football because it was one practice. But from what I saw, like he reminded me of Caleb Williams, 5-star Oklahoma commit in the 2021 class, because saw Caleb at Elite 11. Caleb had the strongest arm there, and that just stood out to me. If all these quarterbacks are about the same level, but you have Caleb who's got this laser arm with a quick release, moves well. So that was kind of the comp for me just from that one day. I don't want to say that Angeli's going to be a 5-star player. He's currently a 4-star per Rivals outside the national rankings. But, I mean, prototypical quarterback, that's Angeli in terms of his physical tools. He didn't start as a sophomore because they had a senior quarterback, and that's kind of a touchy situation if you're a coach. Do I start the kid who's clearly the better prospect, or start the kid who, led us well as a junior to senior year? It's going to be tough to bench him for a sophomore. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah, Angeli's got all the quarterback tools in the world. He's had a private coach, Matt Bastardi, since he was in like 5th or 6th grade, so he clearly knows how to throw a football, throw on the run, drops. Like he great footwork, all of that. But how's he going to be when he's got pass rushers in his face? So that is a long answer to your question, Patrick, and I'm not even done answering that. Is that okay? Can I keep going?
Well, I was going to say you've already clearly made up for the lack of covering a quarterback recruitment by cramming enough info of 20 quarterback recruitments in there, which is how you want to do it. And like you said, there's days that every recruiting reporter looks forward to.
That was pumped.
Getting married, graduating college, and covering a quarterback recruitment, right? So of course it's worth it to fly up to a practice.
So long. So long.
Before we dive deeper into Angeli's game and particularly his recruitment where Notre Dame stands, be sure to follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Patrick Engel _ENGEL, and you can follow Mike at Rivals_Singer. And the best way to support this podcast is to subscribe to blueandgold.com. You can get access for the entire year.
Wait, okay.
$12.
Before you get in this, Patrick, this is the best deal we are going to run all year. I mean, this is a crazy deal. There's a deal that we'll do where it's like you get half off your year subscription. You get like $50 worth to the Rivals gift shop powered by Fanatics. So that's a great deal. But this one is the best. I mean, you're not going to find a better deal than this at any subscription site. So go ahead and tell the people, Patrick.
Get the people what they want. All right. You can subscribe to blueandgold.com entire year, $12. Use the promo code ND1241. That's ND12FOR1. Don't miss it.
That's saving $87 off the normal price. So this is a flash sale, ends Sunday. Get it while you can.
Yeah, I mean, you guys existing subscribers already. The only thing that keeps us from being homeless. So if $87 less than what you would spend on that helps us out, there you go. And I don't think you're going to regret the content either. But
yeah.
Anyway, if you like the podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. wherever you get your podcast. Leave us comments and ratings, or like us on YouTube if you're watching on video. So, Mike, back to your trip to Jersey to go see Steven Angeli. Let's dive in a little bit more into his recruitment here. So, like you said, date is etched in your mind for the rest of your life, the day Notre Dame offered a 2022 quarterback. August 17th. So he was one of two on that date, of course, joining Gavin Wimsatt from Owensboro, Kentucky.
Yep.
So in getting to talk to him, see him in person, talk to some other folks around him, either,
met his folks,
Tuesday, met his parents. And really since, the recruitment started, where do you get the sense that, one, where Notre Dame stands here and what kind of decision timeline he's looking at, particularly in this weird time for any recruit, but especially in quarterbacks, considering how early they like to commit to schools and how a lot of college coaches like to try to see them in person?
Ton to digest here. You might just want to sit back, chill out, Patrick. I might go.
Should I pour a scotch?
If you pour me one. Of course, that would be kind of difficult because we're obviously in different locations doing the Zoom. Okay, so I'm going to answer your second question first, where he kind of stands with this timeline. And to answer that, I want to start off with the context of it's super important to get in-person evaluations if you're a college coach. I've talked to different coaches and over the years and scouts, and I mean that's obvious, right? Me saying that is not like blowing anybody's brains. Like, what, you want to see these kids in person? That's why the spring evaluation period is so important. But especially for quarterbacks, you want to see not just all the good throws. You want to see the bad throws. You want to see how they react to the bad throws. You want to see what kind of leader they are. You can't get that on a highlight tape. That's just not there. You can talk to the kid's coach, talk to the kid, but that's kind of dressed up stuff. And of course, the coach is going to say that his kid's the best thing since sliced bread. The in-person evaluation, super important. Obviously, Notre Dame hasn't been able to do that. Have they seen Steven Angeli throw in person? Nope. Have they seen Gavin Wimsatt throw in person? Nope. They haven't seen many. They saw Brady Allen throw at a camp in summer of 2019. They were really banking on spring evaluation period to figure out who they're going to offer in the 2022 class. I keep saying this. I really need to look it up. I'm pretty sure Notre Dame was the last school in the entire FBS, what's that, 130 programs to offer 2022 quarterback. Just think about that. They were the very last because they put so much stock into wanting to see these guys in person. But if you're Notre Dame, it's sitting in August, and I think you mentioned, Patrick, quarterback recruiting is just a different animal. These kids commit the fastest. Like, I mentioned Brady Allen. He committed to Purdue. He's down in, Southwest Indiana. He didn't want to play his junior season uncommitted, so he went ahead and popped. And a lot of these kids are like, I want to commit before my senior season. Well, quarterbacks, if you're still uncommitted during your junior season, you're kind of late. Quarterback recruiting is just a different animal. So if you're Notre Dame, you got to – pick the guys you like and offer them. Like they certainly like others that they haven't offered, but clearly they offered two, Angeli and Wimsatt, so I'm sure those are the two they like the most. So if you're Notre Dame, you really wanted that in-person evaluation. You didn't get it. So you offered the two that you like the most. You felt like college coaches are detectives. Like, they have to learn everything about these kids, especially at the quarterback position. Because if you get the quarterback position wrong, that sets you back, right? It's not good to have a 2017 recruiting class where you don't have a quarterback. Of course, Avery Davis was that guy and has moved around to plenty of different positions. So you want to get the quarterback position right. Okay. So there's the context. So Notre Dame, they want to be patient here still, I would imagine, because would they, if Steve Angeli calls to commit right now, would they take it? I'm sure they would, but I'm sure they kind of want to take this slow. Like, they got the offer out, so these kids can't be like, whether it's Wimsatt or Angeli, oh, you offered so late. Like, what if Notre Dame would have waited until next spring? That would have been pretty late. But they offered now. It's before junior season. I don't care who you are. If a school offers you before your junior season, that can't be considered late. Damari Alston, Notre Dame was offered 40 or 41 for that running back from nearby me in Atlanta. That's not late because it's before your junior season still. So that's just being soapbox. And Alston understands that. Back to Angeli, the good thing with him is that he's also looking to take his time. So is Gavin Wimsatt. So that's clearly information that Notre Dame wanted to know about when they were gathering information about these kids before the offering. Hey, what does your timeline look like? Well, Angeli wanted to stay patient. He doesn't want to make a decision this fall. And when I asked him about it on Tuesday, hey, well, anything new with your decision timeline? He said, nope, definitely before my senior season. But it really doesn't seem like he wants to announce anything this fall. So I just still feel like, though, if Notre Dame puts the full court press on Angeli, it would be hard for him to say no. I think he's leaning Notre Dame. And, he's got some big-time offers. LSU's talking to him a good bit. Ohio State was his first offer before his sophomore year. He didn't even start his sophomore year, but Ohio State saw him at a camp, loved him, and went ahead and offered him. He's got Penn State on his list. Oregon offered not too long ago. Michigan State is on him. Miami's offered him. Michigan, Nebraska, Northwestern, Rutgers, a local school, Virginia Tech, West Virginia. So bunch of offers. He's taking it slow for quarterback standard. But I mean, I put my future cast pick in for Angeli to land at Notre Dame. I think I put it in, let's see, August 18th at 10:44 a.m. per his Rivals profile. So the day after, less than 12 hours after they offered, I was like, yeah, I talked to the kid, his coach, his private quarterback trainer. I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not counting out Gavin Wimsatt as the 2022 quarterback, just because when I talked to him, he loves Notre Dame too. But this one just makes so much sense with that, his family loves Notre Dame. He's got all the connections, goes to a great Catholic school in New Jersey. It just makes a lot of sense. Okay, how long was that?
I finished my scotch now. Anyway, from what you had just mentioned and really from what you've written about Angeli since Notre Dame offered him, I think this is exactly how you want it to play out if you're Notre Dame. Because at this point, you're sitting here in the summer or deciding not to offer Brady Allen, like you mentioned, he wants to commit. So at that point in July or August, a lot of coaches were under the assumption that we're not going to get to evaluate players or host them on campus for the rest of 2020. And that's exactly what happened on Wednesday night when they extended a dead period there. When you extend the dead period.
I thought they were going to keep extending it month by month, but they just said, you know what, let's
forget about it.
I've been writing a ton about the dead period because I got to keep saying this and saying this and saying this, that I think it's going to be extended through the rest of the calendar year. I didn't know they were going to do it in one lump sum of just boom, cut off. I thought they were kind of slowly, hey, just in case this thing turns around. I mean, if everyone's playing football, but rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you just get tired of kicking the can down the road, so instead you just pick it up and throw it in the trash can. So
that's a great way to put it. Yep.
Anyway, when you extend the dead period to the end of the calendar year, so December 31st, that means you're probably not getting any in-person evaluations until that spring, right? Because coaches aren't allowed to go see these kids in January and February. So at this point, you got to know you have to make a move now, in the summer, or now, if I'm just kind of taking it back a month to before they offer. So in there, you got to figure out, all right, which of the ones are we comfortable with based on our non-in-person evaluations, and who are ones that we're confident that will still be around and will still be considering us, more importantly, say next April, just to assume for a minute that the spring period is back on. And then you get to that point, all right, you've got a couple of options here with Angeli, Wimsatt, at least who are clearly, especially Angeli, what you sound like, going to not decide for a while. And until they do decide, they're gonna keep considering Notre Dame. So you can recruit them, but kind of that mutual understanding of, all right, we don't have to go completely push now just to get the kid because we got to do our own work, right? And we don't even need to, worry about losing him because, all right, if it's, again, April when you can go see him, he's still going to be, in all likelihood, from what he told you at least, who knows what changes in 7 months, however far away April is, I don't know.
Yeah.
That we'll take what he told you at face value to say that he's going to stay uncommitted. So this is kind of at least the ideal mix of, all right, you have to make some kind of move so you're not sitting there in April having not offered a quarterback for almost 3 years. Yeah, the last time they offered a quarterback, by the way, was Tyler Buckner in June of 2018. But still not feeling like, all right, we're going to offer early, but we know we're going to have to take the kid beforehand. And from what you described, it doesn't sound like, Angeli is going to have a situation where, all right, you're Brady Allen. Yeah, I want to commit before my junior year, or after my junior year in this case. Not that there's anything wrong with wanting to get that out of the way, but at least trying to give yourself some, security so you're not taking a player at the most important position in your recruiting class that you haven't seen in person, but you're not going into those in-person evals being, way behind the 8 ball, especially in, quarterback recruiting.
I do want to add, I'm not saying that you said this, but I just want to make it clear, like, they're not going to sit around and, like, not make a push for one of these guys
right
until next April. Like, this fall, they're going to be able to get a ton of footage. Like, it's not the same as some of those characteristics that you can see from seeing a kid in person. But, I mean, these coaches can get full game access. At least that's my assumption. Like, if they go on to Kids Huddle, it's just highlights. Like, I'm pretty sure that, Notre Dame, with all the money the football program has, they can get their hands on complete high school game footage.
Right.
So they can see all the good throws and the bad throws. So
it would be very easy for Tommy Rees just to call up Vito Campanelli and say, all right, give me some film.
Probably.
It's not hard. No one has anything to lose.
I've never heard that directly, but I would assume something like that is certainly certainly a thing, right? I mean, yeah. These coaches see full game footage. So that was one thing, man. You said something. Oh, the commitment timeline. I feel like it's happened more so recently than in years past, where a kid says, "This is my commitment date," and then it shoots up like 3 months. And that's happened more. That's happened more so now because for the 21s, they wanted to wait and take visits, and then they know they're not going to be able to take visits. They're like, "What the heck am I waiting for?" It's like commit. But even for the 22s, like the class of 2022, I'm still just kind of like, we'll see. Like, hey, like I'm going to commit till signing day of my senior year. We'll see. Like,
and then it's
I think
June and you've popped already.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I take, and I'm not trying to say that Steven is like not meaning what he's saying, that like I'm going to wait until January or something, but things just change in the recruiting process, right? I mean, whether it's a new offer or school X drops out of the race, which makes, school Z more intriguing, or, just things like that, or this school might get a commit, but they really want you. So, and then they start kind of turn up the heat and give you an ultimatum of sorts. There's just so many different things that can happen that can move up your timeline. So, like I said, Steven could very well mean like, yeah, I don't want to commit this calendar year. Like, I want to wait until the 2021 spring or winter or something like that. But things could change.
Unofficial anthem or official anthem really of
right.
And right. I guess at the same time, like, you can't, if you're Notre Dame staff, you can't really control that, right? You can't control what School Z is going to do in December with their recruiting board. You have no idea. Right. So at least you'd rather, he's not going to, in all likelihood, not going to say to you in 2 weeks, all right, I want to commit. I'm going to commit somewhere.
Still hasn't been to Notre Dame.
Take me. Right, exactly. And and then this could be, with any team in particular, you'd rather have at least you'd feel more comfortable with the kid who wants to wait and take visits and all this kind of stuff than someone who's like, you kind of knew wanted to commit somewhere in the summer or wanted to commit earlier. You just sense kind of some anxiousness. You never know when something's going to change in a recruitment or anything like that. But I mean, at the very least, you'd feel, I imagine, more confident that this won't be the case here compared to, I don't know, somebody else. But again, I think you're right. But at the same time, if you start worrying about stuff like that, and that makes your decision, you'd be sitting here not having offered anybody or not really knowing what we're doing. And that's even a worse place to be than, having someone change their mind on you in January. So I don't know. In this wonky time, I think they've at least tried to go about this as best as they can, trying to keep the priorities they want to have, and understanding that this is still a position they want to get out of the way earlier, and targeting the right mix of kids that are, or at least from what they tell you, they don't want to commit right away or aren't trying to commit now, and who you still like. So
I don't want to get too off topic, Patrick, but sometimes when I do these podcasts, things just come to you. Say what you want about Notre Dame recruiting, and that they might not get the highest ranked kids, whether that be Brian Kelly didn't text them. Shout out to the South Bend Tribune article on that one. Was it Lathan Ransom and Jalen McMillan story from Carter? Carter, if you're listening to this, it's a good story. I would have asked more than 2 kids for their opinion on that to get a little bit more data, but it was a really good story. Notre Dame loses out some of these big kids, whether it's the academic restrictions, maybe the staff didn't work hard enough or get in there early enough, whatever. But I've been amazed. I've covered a lot of schools in 7 years. Like I bounce around. First school I ever covered is USF. I am a Bulls grad. Maybe we'll address that later. Given who the Irish play this weekend, I've covered USC Trojans, Mississippi State, Louisville. Covered Toledo for a month and a half. You never knew that, did you, Patrick? Yeah, covered Toledo. Interesting. Yeah. I can't even remember all of them. So it's not like I just grew up a Notre Dame fan and that's all I know. It's just Notre Dame. Like I've covered a bunch of different schools, and Notre Dame absolutely does it the right way. Like they are so honest with kids. I was talking to Robbie Toma, and I'll have stuff from that interview. Of course, it's a former Notre Dame player early in the Brian Kelly era. So I talked to him, and he told me that Notre Dame does so well in Hawaii because they're just so honest, and the culture here just really values honesty and loyalty. And Notre Dame just does this stuff the right way. Like I remember talking to a Notre Dame source once and asked, like, "Hey, do you think that offer that whatever kid it was? I don't even remember. Was that committable?" And like source said, Notre Dame doesn't really put out uncommittable offers. Like if they offer a kid, they don't really play games with kids like that. Like they do things the right way. They're never going to want to put any kid on blast. Like some schools will kind of, just do things that, and leak things out that you just don't really like that. It doesn't sit well with me. But this staff, you just have to be reminded sometimes when you get so frustrated about, we had 7 straight 3-star commitments and, is this pushing us past Clemson? You just got to remember that it's a little bit more than football. Like Notre Dame really does get these kids set up so well after football. And that's really the bigger picture, in that they're developing champions and all that good, graduating champions, all that good stuff. So as it's someone who was really green to Notre Dame, not just Notre Dame recruiting, but just Notre Dame in general before I took this job, and how much I've learned in the past year and a half, I've really come to appreciate. Like if you're going to say one thing I like most about Notre Dame, it's how honest the staff is, and then how genuine they are once the kids get to campus. I was talking to a player's dad, and this player was injured, and the kid was really down. Dad was really down about it too. Like, it was just kind of a dark moment. And just the position coach was just so uplifting to the kid, and the dad, like sending the dad all sorts of videos, like, hey, here's what your son is doing today. Like, he's looking great. Like, just really encouraging. It's like the basketball staff does that too. When Robbie Carmody was injured, I mean, the staff and the players, they were up there, every day checking them on Robbie. And I know when in talking to, Robbie's dad, like, they were super encouraged by the Notre Dame basketball staff. So there's my tangent. Hopefully, like, a little feel-good thing there. Like, all right, the school that you love, they really do things the right way, and that's got to speak for something in this world of buying kids cars to commit or whatever crazy things happen these days. I remember when Ole Miss landed Laquan Treadwell and Robert and Diche. Yeah, like, everyone knew. Ole Miss has been the doorstep or the footstep of the SEC for years. How the heck do they land 2 5-star kids? Everyone knew they had to be doing something shady. And did they? Of course. So, just take some pride in that. Notre Dame does things by the book and just, like, honest, good people. And then once they get to Notre Dame, they treat them well too. So
I'll say this, and
that's all I got.
and we'll move on to 2021 class. Whenever, I've talked to different staffs in the past, and you hear about, we don't do uncommittable offers or things like that. Or even whenever I see, someone else write that, or it's communicated or whatever about X school and whatnot, I roll my eyes just because it's all right. You try to just put the right message out there because it's what people want to hear, et cetera, et cetera. Just like I don't vouch for anyone. It's like, oh yeah, I know they're not buying kids. That'll get you in trouble as a reporter. But if you do want, at least Notre Dame can say this, that it has kind of evidence to back up the claim you just mentioned of, they're offering half as many kids as a lot of these other teams.
That's a great point. Yep.
And I know there's lots of factors that go into that, whether, however much, whatever you want to believe, as far as they can only recruit X of the top 100 kids or X of the top 250. I don't know. You put whatever number on that you want to. I'm not going to put one on it just because it's not really here nor there. But for whatever reason, when you just offer fewer players, it at least holds a little more water. So that's that. But all right, let's move on. We'll talk about some couple of very interesting, potentially positive developments in the 2021 class year. But first, a couple of words from our sponsors. Yesterday's Restaurant in Granger is a full-service restaurant serving some of the best food you will ever taste. At Yesterday's Restaurant, the philosophy is simple. Life is short, eat well. They believe that every meal should be a special occasion. That's why at Yesterday's, they serve only the finest organic and locally grown produced vegetables, fruits, dairies, meats, and fish. They hand make most of their delicious meals from scratch using only the finest ingredients available. Everything they serve is fresh and guaranteed delicious, and their recipes are unique and original, from prime rib, fresh fish, to the award-winning Great Scott Burger. Rated by ZZ Zippy as the #1 burger in a 100-mile radius, you are sure to delight your taste buds. Yesterday's makes their desserts from scratch, fresh every day, including the world-famous Corbett cheesecake. Let the staff who love what they do make your Yesterday's restaurant experience outstanding. Visit us online at yesterdays-granger.com or book your reservation on OpenTable or by calling 574-272-7017. Looking for that unique Notre Dame item for the Irish fan in your life? Visit Augie's Locker Room, the country's #1 memorabilia shop. They have the largest selection of Notre Dame helmets, dating all the way back to the turn of the century up to the present day, including the Shamrock Series helmet. They also have stadium benches, frame tickets, one-of-a-kind Rockne items, signed items, and many other unique pieces. If it is ND, they have what you were looking for. Visit them online at augieslockerroom.com or call 574-277-NDND. That's augieslockerroom.com. So, Mike, yesterday, Notre Dame handed out a 2021 offer, its first one in a little while here, to three-star cornerback Theron Johnson from Indianapolis. He's committed to Northwestern, and you had posted some interesting, nuggets about, all right, what's really going on here, why the offer, what do they think, and basically what to read in here.
Well, this is one podcast, and we've now mentioned USF, my alma mater, and Northwestern, which is where you got your master's.
Shouts to the degrees.
When is that ever going to happen in another podcast? Unless
I don't know, Mike. Is Notre Dame going to have to flip USF's 2022 quarterback when everybody spurns them?
Nice. Theron Johnson, prospect that Notre Dame really, this young man popped onto the radar. Not that they didn't know about him. Obviously, they're going to know all these top kids in the state, but his senior season, right? Indianapolis, they started ball in August 21st. So he's already 4 games into his senior season before, and the Big Ten's not even starting until August 24th. Kind of crazy to think about. But so he's had a great season already. He is committed to Northwestern as a corner. He's listed at 6 foot, 170 pounds, ranked as a 3-star, number 68 corner nationally, and number 11 player in the state of Indianapolis. From what my sources have told me.
State of Indianapolis? You breaking some news I don't know here? Anyway, as you were.
Making fun of me now. I don't even remember what I was saying.
3-star corner from Indianapolis.
Notre Dame is recruiting him as an athlete. So he's done really well on defense and receiver. So he could be like a slot guy, outside guy, maybe if he grows an inch or two more. But, 6 foot, I would imagine he's probably 5'11". Every time the kid's listed with whatever height it is, I always take off an inch. When I posted on our message board, Rock News Roundtable, again, use promo code 12for1 to get $87 off the first year of your annual subscription. Josh Hemholt, Midwest analyst at Rivals, chimed in. I will read what he said last night. I was surprised more schools weren't on him when we first rated Johnson last winter. I don't think he had any Power 5 offers then, and he didn't really generate many once they did come in. Now he's had a big start to his senior year, and I don't expect Notre Dame to be the last to offer. I haven't evaluated him on offense, but defensively, he's a ball hawk, and he's shown this season he can come up and deliver the big hits. So both cornerback and safety are possibilities. So clearly Hemholt's high on him. He's a mid 3-star guy, but when the reevaluations come around, which they do, quarterly or something with Rivals, that could be a guy who shoots up in the rankings. So Johnson has 2 Power 5 offers: Northwestern, Notre Dame. Notre Dame would not throw out this
the pro
offer.
at IDing those kids that have one offer. I don't remember what the number was, but on the team that won the 2018 Big Ten West, I think they had a quarter of their guys were only Power 5 offers, and players who were legitimate contributors.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Ben Skoranek was one of them, but
sure.
Anyway, yes, 2 Power 5 offers: Northwestern, Notre Dame.
Yeah,
he had Cincinnati too.
Yeah, Cincinnati. Yeah. He had some MAC schools, but Cincinnati's that's still a group of 5. AAC is on the come up, but not like that. Good player. I haven't really dived into his tape yet, but just from the few clips I've seen, seems like an explosive player. And look, he's a good student, and I think he's just too good for Notre Dame to let him go somewhere else. You got to get the best players from around you. If you're looking at comparable talent, and Indianapolis and let's say, I don't know, North Carolina. Who are you going to take? Like if they're like the same, like they got the same grades, same measurables, might like him a little bit more on this, but we like the other guy a little bit more on this. So like, but they're just about the same. Like you got to take the guy closer to you.
Especially right now.
Yes, especially right now. And, when the kid, might have grown up and really liking Notre Dame and all that kind of stuff, he's not going to be afraid of the cold weather. Like he knows what a winter is like up there. I think that's a real thing. So you want to build it, from the inside out. But, Notre Dame's case, they just build from coast to coast. But, so with Johnson, I think if Notre Dame really does a good job in recruiting him, they will probably land him. I think they'll be able to flip him from Northwestern. I keep thinking of something that's escaping my mind here every time I start talking. That's probably why I'm not sounding super smart in talking about Johnson here. Here it is. So to finish out this class, Notre Dame is really looking at two positions, receiver and defensive back. And they're also kind of looking at linebacker Kahanu Kia from Hawaii. He very may well end up in this class as well. But for the most part, it's receiver and DBs. Well, Johnson's either. So it just makes sense. Like, all right, he's had a great senior season. He's got the grades. He's from our backyard. Let's offer this kid.
Well, of course he's a good student. He's right now going to Northwestern.
There you go. There you go.
But anyway, when you mentioned the defensive back receiver type of situation, and I believe you posted this on the message board as well. The thing that first came to mind with me was, is this either insurance or replacement even, especially when you consider the dead period news officially going all the way there. And who knows if it gets extended into 2021 at this point. Is this insurance or replacement or just, let's see what happens for Titus Makayo Altamalala?
Yeah.
They're right there from Hawaii. Also, who is being looked at? Safety.
Both?
Receiver.
Yep. I think Notre Dame probably prefers both more on the defensive side of the ball, but, they just love these versatile guys who, you don't want a kid who, if we're recruiting a center and he doesn't work out at center, where are you going to put him then? All right, you put him to defensive tackle. Like, you're not going to move him to guard. You're definitely not going to move him to offensive. Like, what are you going to move him to? So, or if, we're really hurting at this position, well, hey, we got this extra body here. This kid played a really high level at that position in high school, so we can move him. So that's a real thing. But I think to answer your question, probably a little bit of both. It's like Notre Dame loves Titus. If Theron Johnson commits, they will still have the spot for Titus no matter what. That's pretty much what I've been told.
Okay.
Which, not to go off on another tangent, but I'm just really wondering about class size numbers, Patrick. It's, I had been reporting, pre-pandemic that Notre Dame's 2021 class was going to be around in the teens, like 18, 19, maybe 20 on the high end was what I was looking at. Now, I think they're going to get to 21 or 22 in this class, just because, is there going to be more transfers? Because the one-time transfer rule, I think, is going to be adopted. So you're going to have more transfers, which open up more spots. Another thing, when you talk to sources about class size numbers, it's super, super fluid. But you also don't know, the staff kind of will always know who is going to transfer. They have a good idea
who's going to be a grad transfer. Because they have eligibility left, and who just kind of understands it. Yes,
exactly. But there have to be some transfers that come as a surprise too. So, Notre Dame certainly had guys leave the program. So I don't know, is that a new number or is that an expected one? When you talk to different sources. So that's an interesting thing, but it seems like even though the NCAA has not said anything about we're bumping up the 85 rule to now 105, or they haven't said anything.
And they need to at some point.
I
don't know what it's going to be, but that has to happen.
Yeah,
I don't want to get too far down that, but yes.
Yeah, obviously they got to do something because they're recruiting in the 2021 class. And I mean, I think the rule is that the school's not obligated to give an extra year.
They're not. But
Okay.
But you still have the issue of in 2021, there are no countable players coming off your 85 because everybody who would have been out of eligibility in 2021 originally now has the year for 2022. So again, we don't know. I'm not going to get any further into this other than it's a mess.
That's it. I will try to give my thoughts like I just have, but talk to someone in the know today. Hey, like how are you kind of and this wasn't a Notre Dame. This was like a different school, but said, hey, like how are you guys personally like trying to navigate 2021 numbers? Super fluid. That's what I was told. I was like, all right, dude.
Yeah. Welcome to 2020.
Crazy.
But, anyway, I had thought, and it is interesting that they'd save a spot for both, that it's just kind of two comparable or two players for one spot as far as
also
we can put them in both spots. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but Titus hasn't visited at least to say, all right, and this stretches all the way for late signing day for him, like I believe he's indicated.
Well, the good thing about Titus is that he is stretching it so far that Notre Dame will really have a better idea by then. Also, Dante Thornton is another one of those guys, is a receiver from Baltimore that he's just too good to pass up. So if he wants in late, we'll figure it out. So that's the good thing about some of these kids, that are really waiting this thing out. Notre Dame will kind of have an idea of whether or not they have room or kind of be able to figure it out.
So we talked about a new name here in Theron Johnson. Let's end this thing with one little segment here on a familiar name who
we're just getting started. What are you talking about?
Familiar name who you put in a future cast for a week or so ago or whenever it was. Time circle.
Yes. Last Thursday night. I was going to wait until Friday morning. I was literally driving from Atlanta down to Florida. My wife's driving, thankfully, when Dion Colzi, we were about to talk about, number 107 player nationally, wide receiver from Athens Academy here in Georgia, who I will be seeing on Friday, by the way, rain permitting. He tweeted out announcing September 28th. Started texting some people. Future cast, boom. Wasn't that difficult.
There you go.
There wasn't a ton of really need to vet this thing out and nope. Text a couple people. Notre Dame's looking good. That one, I feel really good about the Irish chances. Now, if you're listening to this on Thursday, 11 days out. 11 days out. Colzie, so we started this podcast talking about travels. Going to see Colzie Friday. Going to see Colzie on Friday. That was scheduled a month ago. That I was already going to be there, so timing worked out great. So Notre Dame's looking good to beat out, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, all those schools. Notre Dame's also looking good for Jaden Thomas, another receiver here in my backyard. Weather permitting, I'm going to see him play on Thursday. But we're kind of getting the tail end of that Hurricane Sally. There's supposed to be heavy rain in the Atlanta area. My guess is that'll probably be rained out on Thursday, but got a future cast in for Jaden Thomas, 6'2", 205-pounder, ranks as number 194 overall player nationally. So Irish are also looking good there. Do you remember?
Let's dive into.
No, hold on, Patrick. Do you remember in I want to say it's maybe May, June-ish, the uproar about we've only got one offensive commitment since October. Everyone's up in arms about Tommy Rees can't recruit. Okay, they didn't get Will Shipley. The first guy they offered afterwards they got, right? Logan Diggs, that running back. They held on to Lorenzo Styles. Who was pushing hard for Styles? Michigan. Nope, Styles is solid. He said, I'm good. If they land Colzie and Thomas, these have been their two of their top receiver targets. I mean, for months now, it's been Thomas, Colzie, Thornton. So they're going to get two of those three, it looks like, and potentially even Thornton. If they're just going to have a huge receiver class, I mean, could you imagine? Tight end, they got Cambrong early, obviously. Of course, okay, going back to quarterback. You already had the quarterback, all right. And then you get Mitchell Evans, big jumbo athlete. We love Big Mitch. Offensive line recruiting, you got Spindler. You got Joe Alt, my personal favorite recruit of the class. on top of Blake Fisher and Pat Coogan. Where's the outrage now? If they get these two kids, where's the freaking outrage? What are we going to be mad about next, Notre Dame fans? At me.
Add him on Twitter, y'all. Anyway, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can take a class that comes together over 2 years and any snapshot in those 2 years, and it's going to be completely different. So
I know you like going by the script, Patrick, and I go off script. I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me.
Before we dive into a little bit more of Colzie and Thomas here for a minute, let me tell you about varsity clubs. Coming to Notre Dame, plan your stay at the varsity clubs by Diamond Resorts. Decorated with a collection of Notre Dame memorabilia and located just 2 miles east of Notre Dame in the heart of shopping and restaurants. As a special deal for Blue and Gold podcast listeners, use the promo code ZVISG and you'll receive 15% off your reservation. Varsity Club Suites offer king bed with Diamond Resorts quality linens and amenities in every room, living area with a queen sleeper sofa, flat screen TVs, fully stocked kitchenette, and more. Relax as you lounge by the indoor pool where you can swim indoors and see outdoors through glass walls in a screen room, play bocce ball or sit by one of the fire pits in the beautiful outdoor courtyard or shoot pool with your friends and enjoy breakfast on us. Book your stay at www.diamondresortsandhotels.com or call 800-438-2929 and mention promo code ZVISG and receive 15% off your stay at the varsity clubs.
I'm in. You just sold me. Can we do a podcast from there?
Yeah, I don't know if who's interested in going to pools right now, but free breakfast sounds great. Anyway, Dion Colzi. So this kind of illustrates to me the worst thing a kid can ever do is tell you to kick rocks, which they already do that in a lot of times in every cycle because you offer 200 kids and you sign 20 of them. So you're batting 100. And for anyone who, I don't know, thought in June or July or whatever this was when, it seemed Georgia had all the momentum with him and that would be the inevitable destination. Or anyone who thought, all right, why is Notre Dame bothering?
They got mad at me. They said, Mike, why are you bothering to go see a Georgia commit? That's what our message board told me. They're like, Mike, is writing about Georgia commits a new side feature here? And I was like, dang, man. My response was, I don't decide, how hard Notre Dame recruits a kid. If Notre Dame's recruiting a kid hard, he lives an hour and a half from me, I'm gonna go cover him, no matter what. So, who's left now?
Here's your platform to drop the mic. Anyway, what do you think really made Notre Dame be able to stay in this with Colzie and do one of those rare recommitments that they've had a few of over the last couple of years? Again, rare recommit, even just to be in consideration for a recommitment like he is, and nothing's happened yet. But going by your future cast, if you had to guess, he's ending up back in the class. So, how did this really get back to this point?
Outlasted. I think they outlasted everybody. I was told, and this isn't like any breaking news here. I mean, I've been putting this on our message board since then. That once he decommitted, it was March 20th. Yes, March 20th. I love when I do that. That's the date. Once he decommitted March 20th from Notre Dame, of course, he made that pledge October of 2019, weekend of the USC game. I was told that Notre Dame was still going to go after him. They were, as long as the heart was still beating in that recruitment for them, they were going to keep recruiting him. And they just kept after him. It certainly helps that his mother, Yolanda, is a huge Notre Dame fan. She admits it. Like when I tweeted out that I put the future cast in, she retweeted it.
Eyeball emojis.
I know. Like she has been pretty vocal in public about how much she loves Notre Dame. But it's 1000% his decision. Like she wants him to go to Notre Dame. There's a while there he kind of wanted to stay closer to home, but I think there was a shift a little while ago where it went back into Notre Dame's favor. I mean, look, it just fits Colzie. I mean, he's a kid who goes to a great school in Athens Academy. He's been to Notre Dame so many times. He loves it there. You know, when he decommitted, he said he just felt like he rushed it and committed a little too early. I understand that. So then he took his time. Obviously wasn't able to take any visits due to the dead period, but, you know, just reflected, I'm sure, a lot and came back to, you know, probably what he was feeling the first time he committed with, like, the pros of Notre Dame. So don't think it's like too hard to figure out why he would go back to Notre Dame's class. I mean, they wanted him bad. His mom loves Notre Dame. He's been able to visit at least he visited for a camp last summer, which is when he landed the offer. He visited for the USC game. Then he visited for the Echoes Awards Show weekend. That's just from summer of 2019 to December. So there's 3. And I want to say he visited one time before that. So he's been there at least 4 times. So it just makes a lot of sense. Notre Dame loves him. And if he picks the Irish, you know, they will be able to use him in that Chase Claypool boundary type role.
Yeah, it's resilience, and if you get dumped, it doesn't have to be the end of the road.
You know, it's tough.
It is, yeah.
And
this was one where it was. I'm sure Notre Dame could sense it. Like, it's not just your regular clean old split where it's, you know, it just didn't work out, and that's fine because you had all the things working in their favor that never went away, like you said.
Yeah. I think mom loving Notre Dame played a key role there, but I mean, you mentioned resilience. Like, Colzie, I don't think during certain parts of his recruitment post decommitment that he was super receptive to Notre Dame, but I don't think he was super receptive to anybody. Like, I think there was just probably some times in his recruitment where he was just like not texting or calling anybody back. So, you know, some schools would have probably been like, forget that. Like, you know, I don't want to deal with this. You know, if this kid doesn't want to come here, he's not going to come here. But Notre Dame said, you know what? You know, even if he's not texting us back right now, we're going to still go after him as long as that heart's beating in this recruitment. So, again, if it does work out for the Irish when he announces September 28th, you got to give a ton of credit to Reese, Kelly, Alexander, obviously, you know, Polian, even John McNulty, a tight ends coach, has been a little bit involved in this recruitment too. Like,
yeah, I mean, I hope so. He's all he's got to do is recruit 2023 tight ends right now with all class filled up for a while.
But you know, McNulty was texting Colzie, I think, even before they offered Jack Nickel in May. You know, so that's not even a recent thing. So it was all hands on deck for Notre Dame recruiting Colzie. It's this kid they wanted bad. So again, if they land him 11 days from now, then, you know, kudos to the Irish.
All right, we're almost at an hour, Mike. You want to get out of here?
No, another rant. No, I'm just kidding. It's late.
You know, give the people what they want, but no.
I don't have anything, so you're off the hook.
Well, all right. I'm sure you'll be well stocked for our next one here. Anyway, we appreciate you guys listening. Again, you can get access to blueandgold.com, the best way to support this podcast and all of our recruiting coverage efforts using the promo code ND12 for 1. That's ND12FOR1. Please leave us a review, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts on Apple or Spotify. And if you would be even kinder, leave us 5 stars and nice comments. We'll love you forever. And like us on YouTube if you're watching us on video.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. That helps.
Until then, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Till then, take care. And if it's later past Colzie's announcement, you might have some good news on that front. Take care.